Hello and welcome back to the Littlest Sewing Room. Today I'm going to show you how to clean and service the Willcox Gibbs high-speed lock stitch machine. Now before I start, I want to tell you a little bit about this machine. It's quite a fascinating machine. It has a rotary hook on it. It's very unusual. Now Willcox Gibbs manufactured sewing machines from 1899 till 1978. This particular machine I think dates from around the 1920s, 1930s. Usually they do come in black. If you've seen them up for sale, I see loads of these up for sale in my area. I live in Nottinghamshire, Leicestershire area. So there used to be a lot of manufacturers or home sewers that worked in the factories, and they ended up with these machines because they were very popular in manufacturing and with home sewers. But anyway, this is this marvelous green color because at some point in its life, it's had a respray. Whether it's been resprayed at a dealer's when it's been part exchanged, or whether it's just a previous owner's thought, this paintwork's battered. I want it to look pretty, because you can see underneath this beautiful ducket green, I think you call it, there are some old chips in the old paint because it's not been rubbed down before it's been painted. It's just been zapped over. But anyway, Willcox Gibbs manufactured sewing machines till 1978. The high-speed lock stitch machine, it comes in two forms. There's this form here, and then there's another one that is automatic oiling, so it has an oil tank on the back, because as the name says, high speed, this machine runs really fast. The rotating hook mechanism reduces the amount of breakages you get in your thread, and it also reduces wear on parts. And because of how it rotates, it can stitch at up to 4,000 stitches per minute, which is absolutely crazy. It's a heck of a lot of stitches, even by modern standards. So when you think this machine in particular was manufactured from 1899 until they stopped manufacturing sewing machines in 1978, you can see how popular this particular style of machine was for them. So yes, it's got the rotary hook. It gives really fast stitches, but it's also big seller, and why it's so popular with, or was so popular with, manufacturers and home sewists. You get a lot of these converted into cabinets, or like this one has been, into a more portable form, as portable as a heavy machine like this can be. Is the fact that they can sew cotton and lightweight fabrics such as chiffon and silk. So, you know, bridal shops, people making bridal wear love them. And also the rotating hook action makes for a better stitch within the fabric. So the stitch, I'm trying to think what they call it, it's more rounded. The thread doesn't flatten and stretch as it runs through the machine. It keeps its form. Yeah. I am going to be doing a separate video on how we thread these machines. So now I've explained a bit about the good old Willcox Gibbs high-speed machine. Let's get on with cleaning and servicing it. So as I do with all my maintenance videos, there are set things that you need to help clean and service these machines. A cloth for dusting and clearing out any grime and wiping up any little bits of oil spill. Sewing machine oil. Tweezers for getting any fluff bunnies out or awkward threads. In this case, I would say a pair of thread snips as well, because you do sometimes with these machines get threads wrapped around the bobbin winder, as I have with this machine. That's what I've just fished out, the bobbin winder. So, you know, a pair of thread snips and a pair of tweezers, you need it for that job. Stiff brushes for cleaning out any fluff bunnies or any dusty areas. Screwdrivers, my trusty brown Singer that I think you've probably seen in any maintenance video of mine if you've been watching them. Or I've got one of these little mini screwdrivers that are great for taking off feed dog plates. And new needles. Now, I will say right now, if you get one of these machines, finding needles can be difficult. I've got these from eBay. I'll pop the link in the description. They're quite expensive for what they are. But yeah, new needles is always a must. Obviously, when you buy a second-hand sewing machine, if it's got a needle in, you don't know how much wear that needle has had. So yeah, always swap your needles out. As you can see just from an initial inspection of this machine, she's pretty grubby, you know, she's grotty. She's been stored in someone's attic for a while. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to clean all the dust off and any fluff bunnies that I can find that are just sat on the outside of the machine. So I'm going to wipe the bed down quickly with my cloth. This is just to remove the dust. It's not about polishing her up yet. Yeah, I'm going to wipe the main body of the machine across the top. Yeah, there's quite a lot of grot around the bobbin winder and this part of the mechanism here. Let me show you. So I'm going to get in with my stiff brush and get as much of that out as I can. As I say, this is initial dust off. We'll be doing a thorough polish and wipe over later with a little bit of sewing machine oil just to clean off the really stubborn bits. I'm going to clean around the flywheel here because again you will get fabric dust, general dust and everything sat within parts of your flywheel if you're not careful. To the bottom of here. So that's just an initial quick clean off of the front of the machine, and I'm going to turn around and do the other side. As you can see on the reverse side of the machine where you've got your tension units and everything else, and obviously round by the motor, it is particularly grotty because you've got all these little nooks and crannies here where dust can sit and thread bits can get in. So just go over with your brush, get the absolute worst of it out that you can. Yeah, really get in there. Nice stiff brush for this one. I'm not using a soft fluffy brush today because I know that where everything can sit. This has got a little scoop at the bottom here. Let me just show you. Just move you down a minute. So you see this area here. This gathers dirt and dust as well. This would be part of an automatic oiling mechanism. If it had this feature, I believe this machine has had this feature in the past before it's been converted to home use, because as you can see there's a hole here and another one here, which is where some of the oiling pipes would have been, but it's obviously the oiling mechanism has been taken off in order to fit a domestic sewing machine motor. So now I've given it a dust down and got rid of a lot of the loose debris that are sat on this machine. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my feed dog plate off and see what's happening under there. So in order to remove the feed dog plate, the first thing I have to do is turn this plate around. Okay, so this is open and this gives you access to the bobbin area, but for now I'm just turning it around so I can remove the needle, the presser foot and then the feed dog plate. So in order to remove the needle from the Willcox Gibbs, it is this screw here, so you'll need your screwdriver. Carefully slacken that off and your needle should pull out nicely like so. I'll just put that there. And then to remove the presser foot, I forgot, you actually need a spanner. Okay, this is a size 7 spanner and there's a nut at the front of the presser foot that you need to slacken off. So that's the presser foot off. So the next thing we need to do is remove the feed dog plate. So to remove the feed dog plate, we've just got 2 screws here that we need to take out. So that's the screws for the feed dog plate removed. Keep them safe because obviously you will need them later. And then we should be able to, yes, just lift the feed dog plate out like that. So this area does look pretty clean, saying the external condition of the machine. So I'm just going to have a quick go over the feed dogs and everything, make sure there aren't any dusts or danders lurking in there. This is a particular area of the machine where things can get clogged up a lot. So you will get dust, danders, fluff bunnies, bits of fabric gathering in the feed dogs. And then you'll have people saying, oh, my machine isn't feeding through. Well, 9 times out of 10, your feed dogs need a clean. Okay, and it's very simple to do. So I would say that area is actually pretty nice and clean. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the feed dog plate back on and then we're going to start oiling the machine. So Just a little reminder as well, folks, when you reattach your feed dog plates, don't over tighten the screws. You do need to be able to get them off in the future, as long as they are level and flush with your machine top, so there's no sticky out bits for fabric to get on, and it's not loose. You know, it's tight enough to hold it in place. So now I've got the feed dog plate back on, I'm going to start oiling the machine. I'm not going to take the front of this machine off. It's quite a difficult thing to do. You shouldn't need to take the front off the machine. A good oiling and it should be fine. Once in a while, if you're doing a really thorough service, then yes, remove the front end of the machine, because you've got to remove the flywheel, make sure everything's back in place correctly when you do that. So today I'm just going to show you how to get this machine nice and oiled so it's running smoothly. As you can see at the minute, this machine is a little bit stiff. She has been stored for a long time with very little maintenance. So yeah, let's get oiling. So as always, when I oil a machine, I have a method. I start from the back, move to the front, and then gradually move down and then do the underside of the machine. Now, as you'll see on this machine, there are a number of holes which are oiling holes, oiling ports. So I'm going to be dropping a little bit of oil down here. There is one on the inside of the flywheel that's quite hard to get to, actually. So you oil in there and then you give the machine a turn. This machine works the same as my chain stitch machine, actually. It works in a clockwise direction, which is common with chain stitch, embroidery machines and overlockers. Okay, so we just turn that to work the oil in. I am going to give her a couple of drops more because she has been stood for a significant number of years. And we want to get this machine nicely loosened up and ready to sew, and already I'm starting to feel a difference with that. So now I've oiled these two areas, I'm next going to do the bobbin winding mechanism. With the bobbin winding mechanism, you can see there's a number of moving parts here. Obviously that locks up, engages the bobbin winder with the wheel, flick it back down. This needs to turn. As you can see, this is pretty stiff at the moment, so I'm going to be oiling wherever metal meets metal, wherever there's a turning point. Okay, so I'm going to try and get some oil in this area here. Get my cloth and hold it underneath because I want to put oil here and here, and I don't fancy having dribbles everywhere. There's a pivot here that will need to be oiled. Let me just move you around so you can see a little bit better. What can you see from that side? Yeah, this pivot here, okay, needs some oil in it. Lift it up. There's two oil ports on the side of the bobbin winder. They're in the most random location because it's very difficult to get oil in there. And I'm going to put a bit of oil on this piece here. So I'm just going to turn that round, try and get that loosening up. The other thing you can sometimes find with the bobbin winding mechanisms on these machines is that they will clog up with thread. So the place where the threads can wrap around is just inside here. Okay, it's the bobbin winding mech. So always check if there's a big bundle of threads around there, get your tweezers, use the tip of your thread snips and gradually cut them and pull them out. It can be a bit time consuming, but if that gets over clogged up with threads, you're not going to be able to use the bobbin winding mechanism. It's just going to be stuck, you know, it's going to be seized up and stuck. On the top and back of the machine, I'm going to move to the front. Okay, so as you can see, this says oil here. It's kind of obvious. Stick some oil in there. There's another hole, oil hole just behind. Okay, with this machine you must oil it with the needle up. Okay, it does say oil with the needle up on here, but there's a hole here to oil, and then there's two holes here. So let's just get some oil in there. I say I'm going to be pretty liberal with this machine. She's not been used for many years. She needs loosening up a bit. Okay, and then we give the machine a turn. We get all that moving. So I believe this oil hole at the front goes into the rotating hook mechanism, and then at the back this is for the needle bar. So again, I'm just going to add a little bit more oil in there. So this will oil all your internal workings of your machine. And the next I'm going to look at is the tension unit and the front of the flywheel. So now we've come round to the back of the machine where we've got a tension unit and we've got our presser foot mechanism. So as you can see, this is the presser foot mechanism that goes up and down here. What I will do is I'll be putting a few drops of oil to the back here. Let me show you. Let me move your angles a little bit. Can you see where the presser foot mechanism is? Yeah, so that's going to need a really good oil as well. So I'm going to put plenty of oil in there and wiggle it up and down a bit just to get that oil working into the machine like so. And this also activates your tension unit mechanism as on any machine. I am just going to drop a little bit of oil at the back of the tension unit mech just to help that ease up and get working again. And then I'm going to put some oil onto the presser foot lever. So can you see a presser foot lever here? I'm going to put some oil on here so that this mechanism is working really smoothly. It's a bit excessive. It's gone everywhere. Such is life. Don't worry about using too much oil. It wipes up. And with these old machines, you know, they need that extra little bit of oil sometimes, particularly if they haven't been used for many, many years. And the last place we need to oil on the top is I'm going to put a few drops of oil around the back of the flywheel, just simply because, you know, it is an area of rotation, it's an area of movement, it's metal on metal, and she is still just a little bit tight. We've got to let all that oil soak in so she gets moving smoothly. There we go, so that's oiled nicely. So the next thing we need to do is to get to the bottom of the machine and oil the underside. So this is the underside of the sewing machine, okay? I'm going to turn the hand wheel so you can see which bits move, because what we want to do is we want to oil anywhere where metal touches metal. Now with this machine, there's one key area where you do not want to oil, and that is the fabric belt, okay? Now the belt on this machine is in excellent condition. I wouldn't touch one of these machines if the belt wasn't, to be fair, or if the belt was missing, because these belts, they're really difficult to find. Yes, you can find them, but they are expensive for what they are, and to be honest with you, for what the machine is worth these days, you know, unless you specifically want this machine for a specific job, you know, or you've got some kind of sentimental attachment to the machine, you know, it's just not worth it. You know, you see them very rarely, they're very hard to find. So yeah, anywhere where metal touches metal, and we also need to check for any fluff bunnies, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over with my brush and clear out any dust and dander that I can see. Now I've done a quick visual inspection and there isn't much fluff can be seen apart from this area here, which is the area around the bobbin case. So yeah, this is the sort of thing we need to look for, big balls of fluff and dust that can get into the mechanism, you see, and stop it from working. So yeah, so just check around your bobbin areas and your feed, back to your feed dog areas, because this is where the main areas where these dusts and danders and fluff bunnies can gather. I've cleaned out the fluffs. I'm going to start oiling the machine, and for me, this is my method. I always start at the back and work my way forwards. So before I start oiling, I always give the machine a turn and I see which bits are moving, okay? Because that's the bits you want to oil. So anywhere where metal touches metal, so we have a drive shaft here. I'm just going to turn it around a little bit, see if there is an oil port on that part, which there isn't. So I'm just going to oil it externally to there. Turn it nicely. And then there's these bars here that move. So again, we need to get the oil into these areas. It can be a little bit fiddly. It can be a little bit messy. It's okay, you know. You're not going to hurt the machine by giving it a little bit of extra oil, particularly, like I say, with this one, if it's been stored quite a long time. And it really has been that simple to oil the back end of this machine. So now I'm going to move to the front. Now at the front end of the machine, you have got quite a lot going on. Okay, so you've got wibbly wobbly. You've got your bobbin shaft here. Okay, this is where your bobbin case goes and your bobbin goes. So again, this is an item that turns, so we need to be oiling that. We've got this part of the mechanism here that I believe drives your stitch length, that also moves. Okay, and you've also got the disengagement system for the bobbin. This will only disengage when your needle is up. Okay, so let's get oiling. So I'm going to start by oiling this shaft here that drives the bobbin mechanism. Be careful not to get oil into the actual bobbin area, because we don't want oil in there and get on your threads and everything. Carefully turn that, and I'm going to oil into the bobbin case release mechanism, just here, either side. Put a little, it's got a small oil port on the top of the screw as well. Okay, I'm going to give the spring as well a little bit of oil. Of course, we don't want that spring seizing up. I'm going to just oil these areas here where everything moves. Now with this machine, there's also another area that might be difficult for you to see. I'm going to try and get you in so you can see where it is that you need. There we are. I don't know how well you can see it, but you can see this mechanism here. Okay, this is part of your feed dog mech. Yeah, and this will need some amount of oil on the inside where the metal is touching the metal as the feed dogs go back and forth. It's quite a fiddly area to get to. Okay. And we just turn it a few times, just let that oil work in. There's also a spring on the back of here. Can you see the spring that controls the feed dogs? So I'm also going to put a little bit of oil on that spring, clean it up, loosen it up. Like I say, this machine's been stood for so long. And this pipe here, don't worry about it. This would have been when it was on the automatic oiling. Okay, so what would happen is it would have a pan underneath full of oil that would keep these parts oiled as it went, and this tube would lead back into where the oil tank is at the back of the machine. So obviously, you know, it's pumping oil around all these parts continuously whilst the machine was working. So now I've got the underside of the machine oiled. I'm going to put it back into its box, and then we're going to reattach the presser foot and put a new needle in. So obviously, in order to reattach the presser foot, we just reverse the process we did earlier. So we slide our foot onto the shaft, which can be a bit fiddly, and then we need to tighten up our nut. So let's insert our new needle. So with the Willcox and Gibbs needles, they have a groove that runs all the way down them, okay? And when we insert this needle into the machine, I don't know if you can see the groove there very well, but there we go, there's a groove. This groove needs to be facing to the left-hand side of the machine, okay? So we just carefully insert our needle. We check the orientation of that groove, which it is facing to the left. This machine threads from the left to the right. So obviously you want to make sure your hole is nice and level as well. And once the needle is right up inside the machine, we just tighten a screw at the top. And there we have it. That's our needle inserted into our machine. So there you have it, one clean, oiled and serviced Willcox and Gibbs high-speed lock stitch machine. One thing I always do as well, once I've cleaned a machine and oiled it, is I will just give it a wipe over with a rag that's got a little bit of sewing machine oil on, just to obviously help clean the paintwork. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any queries, drop me a comment below. I always try and answer all the questions that you guys send me. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again soon.